When it comes to cats and snow, you have to understand that this isn't just a simple weather event for them, it's a full-blown existential crisis. Snow, to a cat, is like the villain in every cheesy action movie. Quiet, sneaky, and out to ruin their perfectly orchestrated world. Let me tell you a little story about a cat named Whiskers and her first encounter with snow. Whiskers is perched on her favorite windowsill, gazing out at the yard. It started one crisp winter morning. Whiskers was perched on her favorite windowsill, gazing out at the yard that she, of course, ruled over with an iron paw, but something was off. Her glorious dominion, usually green and inviting, was now covered in a cold, mysterious blanket of white. Whiskers' tail flicked, her ears twitched, and she let out a low, suspicious meow. What was the sorcery? She stared harder, as if she could glare the snow into retreat, but it stayed, mocking her. Whiskers glares at the snow, her tail flicking and ears twitching. It started one crisp winter morning. Whiskers was perched on her favorite windowsill, gazing out at the yard that she, of course, ruled over with an iron paw. But something was off. Her glorious dominion, usually green and inviting, was now covered in a cold, mysterious blanket of white. Whiskers' tail flicked, her ears twitched, and she let out a low, suspicious meow. What was this sorcery? She stared harder, as if she could glare the snow into retreat, but it stayed, mocking her. Whiskers glares at the snow, her tail flicking and ears twitching. After 15 minutes of glaring, pacing, and occasional dramatic sighs, Whiskers decided that this nonsense required immediate investigation. She leapt down from the windowsill with the kind of determination usually reserved for hunting a particularly fat moth. Trotting to the door, she sat regally and meowed at her human servant, her owner, to open it. Of course, the human didn't move fast enough. She let out another, more insistent meow, accompanied by a withering glare that clearly said, "Do I have to do everything myself around here?" Finally, the door opened and the cold air rushed in. Whiskers meows insistently at the door, glaring at her human. Now, Whiskers wasn't prepared for this. She had expected a dignified breeze, maybe a bit of fresh air to complement her majestic whiskers. Instead, the icy blast hit her square in the face. She recoiled, ears flattening, as if the wind itself had insulted her lineage, but she pressed on. Cats are nothing if not creatures of pride, and Whiskers wasn't about to let some chilly nonsense challenge her authority. Whiskers steps outside cautiously, her ears flattening as the cold air hits her. She stepped outside cautiously, one dainty paw at a time, like a queen testing the stability of a newly constructed throne. The snow crunched beneath her paw pads and her expression shifted from regal determination to pure, unfiltered betrayal. She looked back at the human, her wide eyes asking, "What kind of cruel trick is this? Why didn't you warn me about the freezing floor of death?" Whiskers puffs up her fur and ventures further into the snow, her movements becoming more exaggerated and theatrical. But Whiskers wasn't about to give up. She puffed up her fur for warmth or intimidation, it's hard to tell with cats, and ventured further. With each step, her movements became more exaggerated, more theatrical. She hopped like a rabbit, then flung her paws in the air as if the snow were actively attacking her. Every now and then she'd stop, shake her paws one at a time, and flick the offending snow off with the kind of disdain usually reserved for day-old kibble. The real battle began when Whiskers spotted her arch-nemesis, the snowflake. One floated down from the sky, glistening in the sunlight, delicate and harmless, at least to human eyes. But to Whiskers, this was an invader, a challenger to her authority. She swiped at it, missing spectacularly. Another landed on her nose and she crossed her eyes in utter confusion. She batted at the air furiously, spinning in circles as more snowflakes joined the fray. It was a losing battle. The snowflakes were too numerous, too relentless. They clung to her fur, melting just enough to make her damp and miserable. And then it happened. Whiskers slipped. Just a little stumble, but to her it was a catastrophic failure. She landed on her side in the snow, and for a moment she lay there, defeated. Her fluffy tail twitched, and she let out a mournful yowl. A sound that could only mean, "This is it, my dignity is gone, leave me here to freeze, a shadow of my former greatness." But Whiskers wasn't done yet. Gathering every ounce of her feline pride, she scrambled to her feet and bolted for the door. Snow flew in every direction as she ran, her paws sinking with each step, her fur fluffed up to maximum capacity. When she reached the door, she turned and glared at the snow-covered yard one last time, as if to say, "You may have won this round, but this isn't over." Back inside, Whiskers perched on the heater vent, her wet fur steaming slightly. She licked herself furiously, muttering cat curses under her breath. She shot occasional glances out the window, where the snow continued to fall, oblivious to the chaos it had caused. From that day on, Whiskers avoided the snow at all costs. But sometimes, late at night, she'd sit by the window watching it fall, plotting her revenge. Because if there's one thing we know about cats, it's this: they never forget and they never forgive.